Hey everyone, welcome back to the Circle Club. Today we're doing my February what I watched, movies, TV shows, and we're starting out with movies first. Actually a documentary called Fire of Love. Fire of Love is about two scientists and lovers named Kathy and Maurice who die in a volcanic explosion doing the thing that brought them together. Figuring out the mysteries of volcanoes by capturing this just insane, beautiful cinematography. The work that they did to get these shots, it's just insane. It's on Disney Plus now. It's really not too long either, but you watch these things and some, you're scrolling on TikTok or YouTube or wherever, and you're like, wow, these nature videos, and it's like someone has to actually go and get those shots. And what's interesting about this is that they're scientists first, but you actually sort of see they're sort of a little bit hippies, kind of like artists actually, and you see how they fall in love with each other, but also how much they love and care about their work. Their legacy, contribution, and work is still used today in volcanology, and it's used to show and predict how volcanoes may erupt, which is also very, very difficult, which they do a great job of explaining. And the narration throughout this, they just have hours and hours of footage. This one is great. I don't think I'd watch it again. It's one of those that you watch one time and you're just blown away. I mean, if I had some friends who wanted to watch it together, maybe, but I've already seen it, so I'm like, I don't know. I think once was enough, but it was very good. Next up is a short story by this guy named Be Gone. I found it on Movie. I got a movie trial and I'm like, whoa, they have so much good stuff over there. It's like, if you want something a bit more creative, abstract, short films, like some of these projects are only 90 minutes, some of them are 40 minutes, 45, but this is a short story, and it's about this black cat in a long trench coat who has no friends, no home, no purpose in his life, and one day he encounters a scarecrow, which sets the black cat off into this mysterious quest. And it's just like a very simple story that sort of explores what is the most precious thing in the world. And when you look at it from a perspective of a cat, it's like something very tiny, very little can mean a lot. And I think it's sort of this reflection and looking back at us as humans to just take a moment to pause and think about the simplicities of life and what is actually nice about that. Next up is the Before Trilogy by Richard Linklater. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think that's right. He did Boyhood, he did Dazed and Confused, he did School of Rock very randomly, but this is wow, peak rom-com, romance, drama, whatever. It's a trilogy, and when I tell you, this is one of those that you just press play and you're like, this feels like you're watching almost like a reality show or something. It's like, it feels so real, the dialogue. I mean, Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, they just, wow. So the first one is called Before Sunrise. It's about this American named Jesse, and he's on his way to Vienna when he meets this woman named Celine, Julie Delpy, and she's a student returning back to Paris. And after they have this long conversation where they have this surprising connection, Jesse convinces Celine to get off the train with them, so you spend a day with these two in Vienna. And since his flight to the US departs in the morning and he has no money for lodging or hotels, they just wander the city together, and you're watching these two people just who thought they had nothing in common, no connection. You're watching them slowly start to fall for each other, and it's sort of this weird dilemma of okay, at the end of the day, do you have a long distance relationship with this person? And then depending on your personality, if you're a practical person, you're like, this isn't going anywhere. This is a fun day. But they just do such a good job. And then I don't want to spoil the next ones, but after that, it's 7 years after with Before Sunset, and then 7 years after that with Before Midnight. And honestly, I think the third movie is the best of them all. And I, again, don't want to spoil anything. This is on HBO Max. This is one that you should definitely watch. If you've ever been in a long distance relationship or you've ever had a hard breakup, watch this movie. This is just peak. All right, comment down below. Let me know what you have been watching. What should I watch? Any movie, TV show, I'm up for it. All right, let's get into the TV shows. So South Park came back for season 26. Episode 1 was about Cartman being jealous of Kyle and Tolkien's new friendship. And this is really about Kanye West and TikTok culture and all that stuff. They do a good job here. It's not like a classic episode, and I feel like that's sort of my issue with South Park lately. It's it hasn't really hit those really, really classic episodes, which is a shame, but it still makes you laugh. It's still funny, still great commentary. I've actually seen a couple people online being like, Cartman, you're right. And it's just how dumb are you? This you are Cartman. This is about you. The next episode they do is about the Prince of Canada, which is actually a take on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And it's about how the Prince of Canada and his wife, they want their privacy and seclusion. So they come to this small town in Colorado, and it's funny because they're just making fun of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and how they're like, oh, privacy, we want to be on our own, but they're going on a book tour and they're doing all these interviews and letting all their dirty laundry out. It is funny when you think about it. It's like sort of this oxymoron about celebrity culture in general and privacy. All right, next up is Abbott Elementary. Abbott came back. We're on season 2. We got episode 14, 15, and 16. In the Valentine's episode, you get to see Jacob get challenged a little bit about him teaching Black history. They also did with crushes and the students having crushes. The next episode is about fire, and in this one, Barbara accidentally sets a small fire in the teacher's lounge, and it becomes this whole thing about, oh, is she getting older? Or does she have her stuff going on? Is she stressed? What's going on there? And there's always someone who's nosy. And then the big episode, the Jim and Pam episode, if you will, is this teacher conference episode, which you can take a guess of what happens in this one. But the staff head to the Pennsylvania Educational Conference. Gregory is reluctant to actually go and do it after he had some bumpy stuff going on with his girlfriend Amber. You also see Jacob fraternizing with their rival school, Addington, which is also where Melissa's sister teaches. Abbott Elementary is great. It's classic. I can't wait to watch the next one. And this season, they're doing a very great job. Kind of like The Office. I think I do want to see this go season 6, 7, 8. Like, a lot of times you don't want these shows to keep going, but I think there's a lot that you can do with this show, especially if you add new characters or someone leaves or does a new job, because that's a big thing in the teacher world, right, too, is that turnover. Next, we got How to Change Your Mind, which is on Netflix. This is actually a book written by Michael Pollan. This explores the history and use of psychedelics, including LSD, psilocybin, MDMA, all that kind of stuff. And this had a really cool perspective about the stigma behind psychedelics, but they also do a really good job about the history, and specifically the US is their influence on, the war on drugs. It get into how it was studied by the government and used before, and it was used for medicine and all this. And there's a lot of history behind this that you're just like, you would never think that people were studying this and the government was involved, because it's so stigmatized now, but this was actually used like Tylenol or something like that. But I think one of the cooler parts is you get to actually see the experiments going on, sort of like this bird's eye view, where you get to see them trying out the psilocybin, how it affects them before, after, learn a little bit about their problems. And Michael Pollan, he just does a really good job narrating it and going through, and he experiences it himself. It was something he's always thought about, but he's never tried, and so he really wanted to capture those moments, and it just does a really, really good job. And I think this is a fantastic complementary piece to the book. And last is Sex Education. I know Sex Education is about to come out soon. I think they're on season 5 or something like that. I'm not sure, but I started season 1. I've gotten through halfway, or almost actually 6 episodes of the season. That's a really good show. It's set in England. It's about this kid named Otis who's super social awkward. His mom is a sex therapist, and all the kids find that out, so they think that he has some sort of knowledge about it. So him and this sort of cool, badass girl named Maeve decide to open up a sex therapy clinic. And as those two are working through their clinic and taking jobs and money from kids, I think they start to learn more about themselves and that they themselves may need some therapy. And this is one of those shows that feels very it fits in its own world. Like when you watch The Good Place, for example, you're like, the dialogue feels kind of strange and odd, but you're like, it makes sense for The Good Place. And that's how I feel about Sex Education when I'm watching. And I'm like, it's not super realistic, it's not super absurd, but it's just got that nice balance of both. And they have these really heartfelt moments. I think the characters are all super relatable. And I can't wait to keep watching it because I think it's very, very good. Make sure you subscribe because we make new content every week. If you like gaming, check out some of those videos. If you like The Last of Us or Mandalorian, we also have some of that going on. All right, that's gonna do it. We'll see you next time, and as we always say, just be you. Peace.